Well now, dear and lovely Booktube, it's Ros, and when I was about 6 months into doing a Booktube channel, I started doing monthly wrap-ups, and it's because I've been kind of observing the things that other people did and thought, oh yeah, maybe that's something that would work for me, and I thought that I would be able to talk about the things I'd read that month and the highlights and lowlights of that, and also throw in a little bit of my planning for the month ahead, sort of TBR stuff, to use the booktube jargon. And um, what I found is that if I do that, the videos end up just too long because I read too much and I've just got, I talk too much, basically. That's the bottom line. And they end up too long. So, and I realised that I quite like to get in a little bit of kind of bookish rambling, the sort of Saturday hodgepodge kind of things that Brian would do, or that thing where you talk about, you give shout outs to other booktubers, or talk about things that are going on booktube, or things that are going on in your life. So I've decided the answer probably is to split it into two. And I did kind of, like, a bit of me thought, why would anyone want to watch a TBR? Like, I didn't understand why anyone would watch a book hoard either, because I thought it was all about reviews, I suppose, and looking back. But I've realised that people do, because they want to say, oh, I've read that, that was good, or I'm thinking of reading that, or sometimes it's about planning things to do communally, like talk about readathons and read-alongs, and yeah. So my idea of what booktube can be has evolved, and so that links to the sort of one of the things that I quite fancied having a bit of a ramble about this month, which is, I don't know if you've seen it, but two kind of newish channels, The Font and Kit's World, so Barb and Kit, made a video this week about, now what did they call it? Newbie Booktubing. And it's all about the anxieties and tribulations of starting a channel and the kind of things you think about and worry about. And it's a great video. And I've also seen already Steve Donahue has done like a kind of a response to it with who's again like someone who's been around on booktube for a while but has just started a channel, and then Kim of Middle of the Book March uh, did one too, and yeah, it's got me thinking. And one of the things that Barb and Kit talk about is Kit has a bit of an obsession with the analytics and looking at those and then thinking, oh, what is it I've done that makes things go up or down, or why is it people only watch half of that one, and being too long is definitely an issue, and I know that's some of the trap that I fall into. One thing I will say about that is that I will watch a longer video. What I end up doing though is I watch it at like 1.5 speed, or even two times normal speed. Do other people do that? Most people who, I mean, if you've got someone like Katie Books and Things who talks really fast, then you can't do it. But most of the time it works. And then I like pause if I actually want to particularly catch, say, the name of an author that might run past too fast at that speed. So maybe it doesn't matter if they're a bit longer sometimes. I think looking at the analytics, it takes you down a rabbit hole of gloom and anxiety. And I know Kit needs to do it, but I absolutely don't. I never look. But what I have to own up to is when I started this channel, I said, well, I don't really care about subscribers. I mean, not care about the people out there. But I wasn't going to worry about how many subscribers I got. That wasn't in my head. It was about talking about books and sharing that with some other people. But you do get sucked in to watching the subscriber count. It's no good pretending otherwise. And Barb and Kit really talk about how painful it is in the early days when you lose a few and you just think you're just going to get to three figures, 100 subscribers, and then a couple of people go and it's like, oh no, what have I done? And can't help it. It does become a thing, especially when you approach certain milestones. I was really excited when I got to 500, and now I'm like about 907, something like that, and I'm thinking, will I hit 1,000? And I don't care, but yet you kind of can't help it. So my thoughts about those sort of anxieties and what helps when you start a channel and if you're trying to build it, um, is that there's a load of things, there's like rules, things that you ought to do if you want to have a successful channel. And not making your videos, keeping your videos down to 15 minutes is supposedly one. Having some sort of elegant backdrop. Well, I'm failing, aren't I? These are just my bedroom curtains. um but getting your sound and lighting is important, and so one of the reasons why I use this room is because the lighting's a bit better than anywhere else I've tried to do. I've tried using kind of like little ring lights, and I just end up with these really bizarre like polo mints. Do you have? I don't know if you all have polo mints where you live, but they're like little mints that have like round with a hole in the middle, and I end up with two of them on my glasses if I use the ring light that I had got. You know, all those things. You're meant to do, or you're meant to do the same number of videos each week and put them out at the same time each week. And but if you really want to be big, you're probably going to have to talk about young adult and fantasy books or stuff that's really popular. And thankfully, in our bit of booktube, those things mostly don't matter too much. Sound does matter, lighting does matter. There are tricks you can do that are helpful, like using the tag function, adding tags. I think it was KT Books and Things, or maybe Claudia Spinster's Library that sort of alerted me to the point of doing that, because it means people could look for things, you know, and find your videos. I think what else is good? Like a nice thumbnail is a good thing. I'm really lazy, but if BookTube kind of chooses for you this kind of awful gurning face, the horror face of doom, which it does sometimes, it's worth trying to find something else to put in there. That's about as far as it goes for me. What really matters, I think, and tell me if you agree, but I think what really matters is be yourself. Enjoy yourself and be yourself, and think of it as a conversation. Those 907 people out there that have subscribed to me, I'm enormously appreciative and amazed that they are, and I absolutely think that I am talking to them. That's what it's all about. And if being yourself means, you know, scripting your videos, well, do. If being yourself means editing out your ums and ahs so that you feel more comfortable, then do that. But if being yourself is just, hit record and chat, that's okay too in our bit of booktube. I think the thing that matters most in this happy corner of booktube is well, two things really. Comments. Don't neglect your comments. Respond to people who comment on your video, and comment on other people's. Now, there are people out there who watch who don't want to comment, and that is absolutely fine by me. I was talking with Alfred about this, who sometimes appears on this channel, and he never comments on things on YouTube. He says, if you're kind of fairly introvert, you want to be able to just watch and not feel like you ought to comment, and that is absolutely fine. But as a channel owner, I absolutely think it's that dialogue in the comments that you should engage in, and that will build your numbers if your numbers are something that you care about. The other thing is join in, participate, be part of readathons and events and live things, though I struggle with that because they're usually at the wrong time for me. Arrange buddy reads, join in, and again that will get people engaging with your channel and you engaging with other people, and keeps it fun, which is what it's all about, isn't it? So that's my kind of response, I suppose, to the newbie booktubing. But do go and watch either Kit's version or Barb's version or both of their conversation, because it's great. Um, so, thinking about joining in with things kind of leads me naturally into talking about my this month's plans. And one of the things that's going on Booktube at the moment is the Invisible Cities project, which is brilliant. It's encouraging people to read books in translation from like a selection of countries each month, and I'm 100% behind that, but I'm not joining in because I've got my own thing of countries that I want to read, and it would sort of divert me off into uh, other directions if I did that. But I urge you to take part. But my country that I'm reading a book from this month, which is kind of like a new country for me, which is brilliant, is Laos. And I've got a book of short stories that I'm reading as a buddy read with Scott, and possibly Nell, but definitely Scott, of Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. And so that's so I feel like I'm with the Invisible Cities project in spirit by doing that, even if I'm not reading the countries that they've selected for February. That book is, let me get it, it's called Mother's Beloved, and the author is Uthine Brunjavong. And it is, I think, the only thing available in English in terms of fiction from Laos currently. So, whatever it's like, I'm happy to be reading it. And it'd be nice to be doing it with Scott and Nell. Now, another thing that's happening this month is that it's Black History Month in America, not here in England. And we have our Black History Month in another month, but it's a good reason to read some Black American literature, isn't it? So Tilly and I, each month we do our discussing drama thing where we read a play and talk about it. And we're actually reading two plays this month by Black American dramatists. Um, One is A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, that's from 1959, and one is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom by August Wilson from, I think that's 1982. And they're both ones that have been made into films. I'm hoping to watch Ma Rainey's Black Bottom tonight. They're both kind of, yeah, interesting plays. Now, if you have read either of those two plays or watched either of the adaptations that have been made of them, or you fancy doing that, please stick your thoughts about the plays either in the comments on this video or Voxer me, and I'm going to put my Voxer identity so you can find me in the show notes, and share your thoughts about them, and then Tilly and I will incorporate those in our discussing drama video when we make it. So we'll build in any comments that we get or that come to me from you. So that's two of my kind of TBR, three of my TBR for this month. Now, another thing that's event readathon this month is Justin and Key from Justin's Bookscapades and Books and Key are doing something called the TBR Tackle, which is such a good idea because it's a readathon that's about catching up with some things that have been sitting on your TBR that you haven't, that you've been meaning to read and haven't. Oh, that's a bit of a godsend, isn't it? So I picked a couple of things for that, and one of those is Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. Now, I have had it in mind to reread Cranford for a while and to see if I enjoy it more as a mature person than I did when I was in my teens. And then, and this is the community thing again, because like Hannah of Hannah's Books kind of mentioned that she'd had that same thought in a video like a couple of weeks ago. And so I immediately said, yay, can we read this together in February? So we are. And then we've got a couple more of lovely Booktube women, Sarah of Hardcover Hearts and Kim of Middle of the Book March on board, and we're going to read that together. And I can't recommend enough throwing yourself into that sort of connected read. So that's on my this month's TBR. And another thing I'm going to do that's going to be a TBR Tackle thing is my book of poetry. I'm reading Dante's Inferno, and that's a kind of ongoing thing with Tom of LA Books and some people, and it's not too late to join in with that. But I'm going to pick I've got a few books of poetry that have been sitting on the bookshelf that I haven't yet read and want to, or so I'm going to pick one of those. But I'm leaving myself open to some choice on that. I've got two possible novels, other novels for the TBR Tackle, and they're both ones that also fit with Black History Month. And one of them is Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, and the other is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin, which is the next in her trilogy. I read the first one and I fancy reading the next. Now, I'm probably not going to get to do both of those. If you've got an opinion of which of the two I should do this month, feel free to say, and I may or may not follow your instructions. We'll see. So that's most of my TBR. There's one book that I isn't my choice, but I'm definitely reading, and that's the book for my real life live local book group, and that's 3 Hours by Rosamund Lupton. And I have to make myself not slightly resent it that I have to read a book that I haven't chosen, because the whole point of being in that book group is we vote on what book we're going to read that month. And last month we did 84 Charing Cross Road, which was my suggestion, which was great. And this month it might not be my first choice, but I will still make sure, I still read it cover to cover, because that's what you do when you belong to something. But the other thing that's happening for me this month that adds a load of stuff to my TBR is grown out of Booktube Fomo again, fear of missing out. Last year I followed all these people talking about the Booktube prize, and it sounded wonderful and a bit exclusive and exciting. And when I realised that you can just like join in, I thought, yes, I should do that. What was I thinking of? I've now got 6 books that I definitely need to read in February and March. I've been allocated, I'm delighted, Fiction Group D. Okay, and the books in Fiction Group D are Love After Love by Ingrid Perso, Gin Patrol on the Circle Line by Deepak Anapara, Redhead by the Side of the Road by Ann Tyler, Actress by Anne Enright, The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mantell, and Weather by Jenny Ophil. They're all by women, did you notice? It's a random selection, so that's just coincidence. One of those I've already read, Actress by Anne Enright. That was right back at the beginning of 2020, though, so I'm going to need to reread it to give it a fair shot compared with the other 5 before I vote. So I'm hoping to read at least 2 and preferably 3 of those in February. So that's going to keep me pretty busy. And of course, as you will know, if you know about the Booktube Prize, then I won't be able to talk about those. So because you can't till the results of the voting on that round have been announced. So that I'm going to be pretty busy. Any of those that you've read or fancy reading that you want to talk about, please do in the comments. And as I say, especially if you want to have a go at either of those plays, either reading them or watching them, I would love to hear. Bear in mind, reading a play is not a huge commitment. It's usually going to take you an hour or so. So, why not? Be a devil, join in. And have a good week, everyone.